I'm a guy that's 25. Lego Star Wars is my life. I like Ryan Johnson. I'm Rich Boy J. Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back with another video, and this is going to be Starkiller base so far. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have an update for you guys this week. There were some orders that didn't come in, and there were just other things going on in life that really didn't allow me to get pretty much any progress done on Starkiller base so far. But I figured rather than just delaying an episode, I would actually give you guys something that you've been asking for quite some time. This is probably the single question I get the most, other than when's this mock going to be done. But whether or not I can show you guys what's all been done on Starkiller base so far. Hopefully, whenever I get through this video, you'll understand why I've kind of held off on this. This is not the easiest video to make, given the state of things, as you can even kind of see going on here. But I will try my best to go through this room as well as my other room and show you kind of where everything is at with Starkiller, what I've done so far, what needs to be done, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So we'll start off actually over in this corner, and you'll see I actually haven't been in this room recording in forever, so a few things have changed. Like, I've added these shelves in here. This is kind of almost going to be like a little bit of a room tour as well. But we have basically the beginning sections of Starkiller up here. This is why I haven't shown these off in forever. They've been stacked up here. If you remember, these were the sections that the troops were standing on. This is literally all of them stacked up right here in this corner. That's the nice thing about Starkiller. Most things are modular, so it allows me to just kind of throw things in a corner and not take up as much space as it was taken before. This is that main protruding part of the stage area. If I can even give you a little view of the top, that's what that's looking like. So I have not seen this thing set up in such a long time. This has been up here or in a corner of another room for quite some time now, but this is basically that first section, and this actually occupies 2 tables if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of crazy to think about. Like, it doesn't look like a ton of stuff right here, but once it's laid out, this is literally 2 tables worth of the mock. So that's what that's looking like. Right below it, we have my TIE Fighter collection. These are the Jarek TIE Fighters, the custom ones from Brick Vault that I built for this mock, and they're all just chilling right here. I think I have 5 of them right here, the other one's still in the hangar, and I probably still have to build at least 3 or 4 more for the trench section of the mock. But these are still looking good, in pretty good condition. I love this model so much, and it honestly makes me happy that I have so many of them right now. If we move over here, this is the most difficult part to record. So this is basically the stage, but it's facing this way now. If I can get my camera in between there, you can kind of see that First Order flag sticking out. So you might be wondering, like, why the heck did I flip the stage around? There's some more of the snow and rock work. Well, the reason I flipped the stage around was because I knew I was going to start building this way on the mock. In front of the stage were those sections right there, but once that got done, there was no need to keep the stage basically facing the wrong way. I wanted to continue extending the build out this way, so that's why I turned it around, so these sections that would be built up next to it would basically lie adjacent to it. So that was really the plan right there, and this is actually kind of a cool shot because you can go look at the inside of the stage. This is such a massive structure. I would say it's pretty comparable to the size of a couch, which is kind of insane when you're thinking about the fact that I built this all on my own out of Lego. That is honestly kind of mind-blowing. So that's kind of the state of affairs for the stage. That all is, of course, finished up. You guys have seen extensive pictures and videos of that section of the build. So the stage right here, this is basically a table's worth of the build. So the stage combined with those sections up there, that's 3 tables worth of a build. So now we have the hangar, and so far what I'm showing you, everything is pretty much oriented the way it will be in the mock is done. Obviously, this wall should be parallel, or I guess laying flush with this wall right here. It's not, because I was working on it, and it was just too difficult to have it pushed all the way back here. Plus, I kind of like having some table space right here. But this is the hangar section, of course. This is the first bit of the interior that I worked on, which is so weird to think about. It feels like it was just forever ago where I was working on this, trying to get it built up. And now it's pretty much done, which is awesome. I got my custom first order transporter right here. This is actually not going to be parked here. This is going to be parked on those sections up there. But I had it here just because this is a convenient place to put it. And then there is the other first order Special Forces TIE Fighter that I have. And this one is actually going to be parked here in the hangar. Rey, whenever she's climbing, actually when she comes out of that hallway right there, she looks and there's this TIE Fighter parked right here. And you can kind of tell her plan is to take this TIE Fighter out of Starkiller Base. It doesn't happen, but that's clearly her plan. So these are the hallways that line the edges of this hangar section. Pretty cool part of the build, honestly. Like, I just love the way this looks. I love the scale of everything. Got those custom Death Star light pattern panels right there. And everything's looking pretty good to go. So I think up until this point, it's pretty obvious where everything is going to be oriented in the mock. But after this is where things kind of get a little bit confusing, just because, like, pretty much once I finished this, I stopped building on these tables. And as you can tell, like, this table's a mess. I still have stuff from Vardos on this table. Like, there's my AT-AT, my Imperial TIE Fighter, and just a bunch of other random stuff that I really do need to clean up at some point. Look, ATM-6, check that out. So this is basically... This is not the next section I started working on, but I'm glad this is here because this is going to be part of the interior on this side of the mock. The idea is that the hangar would be accessible from that side, and then there would be the other side of the interior that will be facing this way. So if you imagine, like, the Snoke's throne room, that would be right here, and then the sections above it would be placed also right here. And then this stack of modules would basically be on the left side of those. So if you're looking at the mock from this side, you see Snoke's throne room, the cafeteria, prison, and then you'd see that iconic hallway. I can remember, the prison, not the prison room, the interrogation room, and then the barracks that I built. And those would basically cover up this part of the table, and then we'd have basically a full culmination of the mock pretty much up until this point. I'm trying to explain this as clearly as possible. I know it might not be the most obvious thing to kind of visualize, but this is basically the plan of things. And if you're also wondering, like, why can you see those colored bricks right there? Well, if you keep in mind that the sections right here would be so tall, you wouldn't actually be able to see into this side of the mock looking from this direction. So it didn't really matter that, for example, I didn't have walls right there or those sections built up because you'd never actually be looking at the mock from this position. So then that brings up this next section of the mock, which is basically the outside of the mock. So these walls that I've been working on most recently, and we'll go check those out. But before I leave, I just want to give you an idea for where those are going to be placed. The walls are basically going to be lining this entire section of the build. So if you imagine Starkiller Base starts off on the left side with the stage, the interior on this side, and the interior on the other side. And then this is basically, you go back to the outside of Starkiller Base, and there are the walls that I have been building, and then the elevator section would be somewhere over here. And the elevator would actually open up into this section right here. That's why I built these opening and closing doors right there. So this is basically all of Starkiller that is in this room right now. We're going to finish off the rest of the video in the other room. All right, let's look at the remaining parts of Starkiller Base. So as I mentioned before, we have this module of the interior, and this is going to lay opposite to the hangar section. So this is what I was referring to. And then that tall module that I had still sitting in that room, the skinnier one would actually sit right to the left of this. So if you're looking at the mock from one side, you'd be seeing the hangar section. If you look at the mock from the complete opposite side, you'll be looking at these sections of the interior. This is the prison room that I built. This is still probably my favorite room of Starkiller so far. There's just some really nice techniques in this thing. This was the cafeteria that I built, and this thing has seen some better days. Unfortunately, I've been poaching from it a little bit. I do actually currently have the parts to finish this up. I've just kind of neglected it in lieu of moving forward in the mock, but I clearly need to make some repairs here. And one thing, I swear, I've had this built for such a long time, and I've never showed it off in a Starkiller update because I just straight up forgot, was this is going to be the Cafeteria Clerk. This is my Yariel Poof minifigure. It's basically a spoof of the, not really a spoof, it's basically just a callback to the Robot Chicken episode where Yariel Poof is like a Death Star cafeteria worker. So this is what I came up with for Yariel Poof with his very long neck. He has a pretzel and a hot dog, and he's going to be working in this booth right here. So I thought that'd be kind of funny, and that is what I came up with. And of course, you guys all remember the big Snoke throne room. This is what that's looking like. It has also seen better days. I've had to poach from this, but nothing that I couldn't fix pretty quickly. Once again, I do have the parts to fix all of this. It's just not been a priority. I've really been wanting to move forward with the mock. So then that brings us to this outside section. So if you recall, when I was referring to what is going to be lined up against the interior sections of Starkiller, this is it. This is where we go basically back to the outside of the mock. So if we're looking at the mock from the side, you know, the leftmost side would be the platforms where the troops are sitting. Then there'd be the giant stage. Then you would have either, depending on what side you're standing on, you'd have the interior of this or the hangar section. And then if we move over, you'd have this section. This is the outside of Starkiller base. This is what's going to basically close it off and then kind of introduce us to a bunch of snow that will eventually lead into a trench. So this is what I built so far. You guys have seen pretty recent coverage of this, so I won't go too deeply into it, but I will point out that I have basically the remnants of this N1365 X-Wing. As great as this model is, I'm probably going to go with a different model, just more updated, because so many new parts have come out since this one has been worked on. Of course, no slight to N13, you guys know he's my favorite builder, but I think I'm going to go with something else for my T65 X-Wing, I'm sorry, my T70 X-Wing for Starkiller base. But it's kind of cool still having this thing around just to kind of look at, even though it's in pretty terrible condition. But yeah, this is going to be the outside of Starkiller base. Like I said, the snow here will basically kind of lead off into the next section of the mock, which will be the trench and the oscillator building. As much as I'd love to try to explain how those are going to work, that might be something that you just need to see kind of unfold, because all of this that I've shown you so far is pretty self-explanatory, because you have an actual visual guide. Like, I can show you exactly what it looks like. I haven't worked on the trench yet, so I can't really give you a good feel for what that will look like until we get there. So kind of sucks, but that is why I built this, and that's why I'm going to be building a few more of these full-size X-Wings. We're going to have basically a full-on trench battle happening on Starkiller base, which will be so fun. That's really one of the reasons why I chose Starkiller base to build. It's really just the jack of all trades when it comes to things you want in a mock. Like, you have the troop assembly section where there's all the troops, you know, it's kind of like an army builder's fantasy. You have the big structures, so you have the massive scale, of course. You have these nice little interior bits where you get a bit more detail, lights, of course, and just cool things like that. And you're also going to get the trench section, which will basically allow for not necessarily space combat, but atmospheric combat with starfighters, which will be pretty fun. And you're going to have the forest battle that's going to basically cap off the rest of the build. But really, that's really the most I can show you guys for Starkiller base so far. What you've seen in this video is pretty much everything that I've been working on. Hopefully that gives you an idea of just how much progress we've made on this build, and hopefully gets you excited to see this entire thing completed. I know I'm super ready to see this build completed. So hopefully, if you were kind of in the dark, if you're a newer viewer, this gave you a better look at what's been done so far with Starkiller and what there is still to be done. And yeah, that's going to finish things up, guys. So if you like what I do, go ahead, support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and me and Yariel Poof will be back again very soon.